Now we're going to move on to black. And our first black card here is Fear of Lost Teeth. This is a single black mana for a 1/1 enchantment creature. When it dies, it deals 1 damage to any target, and you gain 1 life.
Yeah. Got types. It's good to sacrifice. It's trades with manifest creatures. There's a lot to like here.
Yep. It's 1 mana defensive creature. It's okay to sacrifice. Also, there are a few cards we're gonna get to in black that say when this creature is dealt damage, you kill the creature.
Yes.
It's an aura that enchants them and they're their creature, and it's like, oh, any damage will kill it. So this kind of it plays nicely with those. Just a little bit of, more applications for it. Yeah, it's a really solid little card. I would give Fear of Lost Teeth a C plus.
I was gonna go C, but I could see you being correct.
Yeah, cool. Next up, we've got Final Vengeance. This is a single black mana for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, sack a creature or enchantment, exile target creature. Okay.
So you're well aware of my dislike of Bone Splinters. I think this card has enough extra between the exile, the fact that I do think there'll be a lot of fatties on the board, and the fact that you could have like rooms lying around, plus the whole sacrifice theme. I think I like this one.
Yeah. Pairs pretty nicely with the black-red enchantment signpost that we saw that you want to sacrifice. Yep. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's probably still going to be like a C, even in a deck that's pretty good for, but solid C.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a C as well, but the ceiling on it is again much higher.
Yep. Next up, we've got Bale Merc Leech. This is 2 and a black for a 2/2. Its eerie ability is your opponent loses life, so pretty minor.
Yeah, slightly better than the zombie and wilds that did it when an enchantment died, but not that much better.
No, yeah. Like a D plus. Yeah. I'm gonna give it a D plus.
Yeah, D
Next
plus.
up is Give Into Violence, combat trick. 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains a really good ability, lifelink, until end of turn.
Yeah, but what deck plays this?
Red black.
Yeah, I'd like maybe.
I
like maybe red black, maybe green black, but
yeah, white black.
I'm not
No,
thrilled about it. I'd be happier if this was in another color.
I mean I think even blue black's gonna be okay with it.
Okay, I was gonna give it somewhere between D plus and C minus. I think I'm gonna go C minus.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a C minus as well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it sounded like I was gonna be higher on it. Innocuous Rat up next. 1 and a black for a 1/1. When it dies, manifest dread. Okay.
I like this thing.
Yeah, I like it a lot too.
It's even if you manifest this, you can just keep the cycle going too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, keep on doing it. Yeah, good for sacrificing. Good as a little bit of a speed bump. Just good all around.
Yeah, if your opponent just plays like a 2/2 on turn 2 and just attacks into this, you just block, right?
Yeah, you just block, and I think your opponent's like they're gonna do it. They're not gonna be like, oh, I can't attack into that, but I think they're gonna be like, ugh, okay, yeah, like they get to set up their next draw, or sorry, not that they get to set up their next draw, but they get to set up their manifest dread, get their delirium going. Yeah, I give this a C plus.
Yeah, the only downside to this is that it is not very effective at stopping like survival from triggering.
Yeah, that's a great point too.
Yeah.
Winter's Intervention is up next. 1 and a black for an instant. It deals 2 damage to target creature. You gain 2 life.
So we had Savor in Bloomborough. That this like in one sense this is Savor without paying the extra 2 mana because you get the damage and the life without having to sacrifice your food. But -2/-2 is a lot better than 2 damage. And there was, the forage stuff going on that mattered.
Yep.
I'm not sure where to land with this thing. It's good, but I don't think it's as good as we might expect.
It's not safe or good. I think it is worse than that. But I don't think League's worse. Like, I think it's still... Like, I think when you see this in a pack, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty happy to take that.
But, like, we're talking, like, C+-ish, right?
Yes, exactly. C+ is not in the B range. But I think a good C+, yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you're gonna look to cut this card very often.
Yeah, Saver was somewhere in the B minus to B range. So yeah.
Appendage Amalgam is up next. This is 2 and a black for a 3/2 flash enchantment creature. And when it attacks, you surveil one. Okay. Seems
Yeah.
fine.
It's got types.
Yeah.
It needs to have a good attack. Like you can flash it in as a blocker too, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not too bad. Nothing too exciting. This screams like filler to me, or I should have said smells like filler.
Yeah, it does smell like filler. Is that what a bunch of arms smell like? Filler? Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to be a pleasant existence. Just smelling armpits all day, all the time.
And apparently, according to the flavor text, also mucus covered finger is not nice. Yeah, I think this is like a C minus probably.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I wrote down too.
Next up is Cracked Skull. This is that aura I was talking about. 2 and a black for an aura, enchant creature. When Cracked Skull enters, look at target player's hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. That player discards it. And whenever the enchanted creature is dealt damage, destroy it.
So I kind of like that. Like this basically ensures you're not falling behind on tempo. Like if you play either a Fear of Lost Teeth or an Innocuous Rat on turn 1 or 2 to this, like the fact that their board is bigger doesn't matter, and you've also taken something out of their hand. Like I like this card.
Yeah, so do I. I always like when they make these kind of coercion effects better than just kind of sideboard cards, and like how you laid it out is perfect. I think that's exactly the way you want to look at it. Yeah, this card is not as good as say Tormented Golem or whatever that card is from Lord of the Rings, but it's one I think you're going to play more often than not. At least the first copy.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between C and C plus.
Yeah, me too. I think
I'm gonna land on a C.
Yeah, me as well. The Tormented Golem style cards leaving around like an actual token, that's a big deal. So I think some people in chat maybe are making some of those kind of comparisons, but still a playable card, certainly. Next up. They had to reprint it yet again. They go, oh, it's a set where people are being murdered. And so, our black removal spell is murder. I almost don't have to read it, but I will. It's 3 mana, 1 black, instant, destroy target creature.
What is going on? Like, is that a helmet? What is that?
It looks like a... I actually have no clue. I have no clue what's on this person's head.
Yeah.
Oh, it's goggles. Well, it's goggles, of course. It's just like, yeah, it's just weird looking goggles. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. And this, okay, sure. Anyways, yeah, this card's fine. I think it's a C plus, and that we could probably move on with that.
Yep, that's what we always say about murder.
Yep.
Resurrected Cultist is up next. This is 2 and a black for a 4/1. It has a Delirium ability. You can only activate this if you have Delirium. 2 black. Return it from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it.
I like this thing.
Yeah, me too. It's not restricted. Oh, sorry. I should also say it's only sorcery speed. That's another thing too. It is restricted by sorcery speed.
That is very important. Yes. It would be insane if it wasn't.
So we've been talking this entire set review about things that are good to put in the graveyard with Manifest Dread. This is one of them.
Yep.
It also
this is good.
Yeah, good.
Well, finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say, like in your black controlling decks, it's a high power creature that just trades up. You know, it also trades down, of course, but it's a thing that wants to trade. I guess is what I'm trying to get at here.
I was going to mention that you also have an interesting decision when you see this as one of your top 2 when you are manifesting Dread.
Sure, yeah.
Like, do you want to put it in the graveyard and get 2 creatures out, the 4/1 and the 2/2, or do you want to flip this down and have the threat of like trading with a bigger creature and then get it back later? Just another example of how Manifest Dread is such an interesting ability. We're kind of gushing about them at this point, but I do think they're getting really good at designing these sets.
Yeah, no, I do think so too. Yeah, so I wonder if this is like, ooh, really cool, plays well tonight with sets mechanics, but like doesn't end up being a card that makes your deck most of the time. Like, do you think this is going to be a card you just play in most decks, or do you think you have to be Delirium heavy to play it?
think you need to be able to get to delirium by like turn 7.
Right. Okay, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I'm assuming that when people see that delirium keyword, they're gonna know that it goes in those decks, and I'm not gonna give it like a synergy or build around grade, but
Agreed.
I think in those decks it's a C plus.
Yeah, I was gonna give that a C plus as well. Sweet. Yeah, and I think that's a good way that we've been doing that through the set review, but just not putting too many synergy build around qualifiers. I think people kind of, especially when it's spelled out, will know where it goes. Next up is Cackling Slasher. This is 4 mana, 3 and a black for a 3/3 Death Touch. When it enters, it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it if a creature died this turn.
This is a random card.
Yeah, what is just so they needed a black 4-drop.
Yeah, I'm not excited by this whatsoever. I think this is like a D plus.
D, yeah, I was just gonna give it a D, but
Okay.
next up is Fanatic of the Harrowing. This is 4 mana again, 3 and a black for a 2/2. When it enters, each player discards a card. If you discarded a card this way, draw a card. I like
So
this.
notably, sorry.
I like this one. I was saying.
Okay, what would you like to give it?
Wow. Okay. This I thought I was gonna segue you into so notably, but gonna give me a what grade do you give this one, Alex? Or on the spot? I was gonna give this. I was gonna give this a pretty high grade. Actually, I was gonna give this a B minus.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna walk you into another trap, right? That's what I did.
Okay, give it to me. Why am I wrong about this one, Mark?
Well, so okay, both with this and the 3 mana enchantment thing that makes them discard, like that one you choose the card, but giving them choice of discarding a card can be anywhere from, backbreaking at its best, mildly inconvenient, neutral if they're just like hitting delirium and they kind of just don't care, hey, you made me hit it a turn earlier, so I don't care about the card. But it could literally be a downside.
Yeah, like enable my opponent's reanimator plan.
Yeah, like it goes, that's a pretty wide scale of options here for like a 4 mana 2/2. So I think the only spot I want to play this is when I'm guaranteed that the card I'm discarding is going to be something I want to do.
Yeah, interesting. I agree. I agree with the premise. I just think that enough of the time, yes, this card would be better in a different set, but I also think giving yourself the rummage and just putting your opponent down some material, I think that matters.
It does curve really nicely into the white 5 mana reanimation. I think it's good in white black.
Right. I also think good in I think this will be better net good for you in any deck that cares about the graveyard, which I imagine is most black decks.
Yeah, see, maybe it's a hot. I see where you're coming from. I thought this was good to start off, but it's my take is that I think this card is going to be a lot worse than it reads.
Yeah, no, I can buy it. I do think I'm still going to start out pretty high. I'm curious to hear your grade. You have talked me down a little bit because I will admit I wasn't thinking about how catastrophic this could be when you cast this. So I'll go to C plus, but what are you giving it?
I'm gonna go to C minus.
Okay.
And then we'll keep our 2 grade difference and see how it ends.
Sounds good. Next up is Fear of the Dark. This is a 5 mana 5/5, 4 and a black. It's an enchantment creature, and it says when it attacks, if the defending player controls no Glimmer creatures, it gains Menace and Death Touch until end of turn.
Yeah, so when this was spoiled pretty early, there wasn't a lot of glimmers. I thought that was going to be kind of a minor thing, but there's actually a chunk of glimmers.
Yeah,
and if it's not pretty bad if they do have a glimmer.
Right.
It's very bad.
Mostly a blue-white thing, I think the glimmers are. It's gonna be a 5 mana 5/5 enchantment creature against blue-white a lot of the time.
There's also a glimmer light though, right? Like the artifact.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't even think it matters too much because even if this didn't have that glimmer text, I still don't think we would like the card very much.
You're right. It'd be somewhere like a C minus or something. But yeah, with that text, it's like a D.
Yeah, I was just gonna give this a D.
Okay,
cool. Next up is Spectral Snatcher. This is 4 black for a 6/5 ward. Discard a card. Swamp cycling.
Even though it's in the reanimation colors, I like this one less than the blue one.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they would, at least with the black and white ones, really kind of juice them. So it's like, yeah, you really want to, here's a common reanimation target. Don't think this is what I'd call juiced.
It is still nice to manifest dread. We'll
Sure, yeah.
keep beating that drum, but yeah, this one is closer to like a C minus.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
Like the ward kind of doesn't matter when it's not big enough that they really have to care about it.
right, exactly. No, I agree. I think C minus sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right, and then we've got Black's common room here. Derelict? Yeah, Derelict Attic. This is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a draw 2, lose 2. And Widow's Walk is 4 mana, 3 and a black. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn.
This is the all the I was going to say the worst room we've seen, but the gold one was kind of bad. But worse than the white and blue ones, I think. Still probably playable, but not by much, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if this at some point had gains lifelink instead, because they've had cards like that before, like multiple cards that have been like that before. Whenever like a black enchantment or something that whenever a thing attacks alone, it gets a bonus in lifelink. And it kind of makes sense to offset the life loss, but that 4 mana mode, I don't think it's very good. Like it's just like I don't think you're going to be unlocking that very often at all.
It would be like really good with lifelink, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. A Death Touch. I mean, there's like first strikers in the set. It's not nothing.
Yeah. I think this is not much more than the attic part of it, the draw 2, lose 2.
I believe in rooms, perhaps foolishly enough, that I'm still gonna give this a C minus, but
Yeah.
I think that's about the cap. Like
Yeah.
could
I'm
be
on
worse.
board. I was gonna give it a D plus, but I could see being a little bit better than that. All right, that's gonna bring us to the uncommons in black and Valgavoth's Faithful. Valgavoth, that's the set's villain. Valgavoth's Faithful is a single mana 1/1, and you can sacrifice it for 4 mana, 3 and a black, to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So we've got another pseudo 4 mana reanimation effect.
Yeah, it's nice that you can cast it on one and just kind of have it sit around, but it doesn't really brawl, so
No.
you're basically just on standby. Like this is pretty close to a 5 mana Zombify.
Yeah, it's very, especially because I think if you have this on the battlefield and you do, let's say, there's not that many ways to get things into your graveyard aside, like that aren't, the way that I envision this is there's not going to be a lot of situations where your opponent leaves this on the battlefield when you have something good in the graveyard, because it's not like you can surprise them very often. There's the cyclers, and there's a few other things that put themselves in the graveyard, but not very many. So you're going to most likely have to have manifested dread before you do reanimate something, or if you have a discard outlet on the battlefield, your opponent's going to be like, they can discard something before turn 4, and maybe I want to kill this preemptively. So I think a good savvy player is going to keep an eye on this and just kill it if it's a problem.
I mean, you can manifest dread this and flip it up.
There you go. Yeah, that's the perfect thing, right? Manifest dread, put your reanimation target in the grave, and have this flipping up later. I mean, that it still costs 5 to do, but that's kind of funny.
Yeah, like so. This turn 1, turn 2, like land cycle. Let's say the blue or green ones, because I think those are like slightly more attractive. Turn 3, like removal spell. Turn 4, bring back your land cycler. That's decent.
Yeah, this doesn't have to be a black-white card, right? Like you said, it could be any of the land cyclers even.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this card's fine.
I kind of just want to give it the same grade as the white common one. Like it's a synergy C plus.
I'm just gonna give this a C.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't think you're gonna play this card too often outside of a dedicated reanimator deck is all.
Yeah, I agree. It's mostly just gonna be in white black or like reanimation themes, but yeah.
Next up is Cynical Loner. This is 1 and a black for a 3/1. Can't be blocked by Glimmers. Survival, if it's tapped on your second main phase, you can entomb. You get to put a card from your library into the graveyard. Okay, so like a pretty good 2-drop, like as far as an aggressive deck goes, that and helps your delirium sometimes. Maybe puts that the black 4/1 in the
Oh,
graveyard.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
And
does some
white
cool
black
stuff.
can get your Umbrella rights.
Yeah, put your Unbailer rights. Yeah, I think this is a card that like does a lot of little things for a lot of archetypes. And it's
I'm
just like the
still
2-drop.
not super high on it. I was
No.
gonna give it like a C.
Yeah, this is way more on the flexible rather than powerful side of things. But I think C is fine for Cynical Owner.
Okay.
Next up is Nowhere to Run. One in a black for a flash enchantment. When it enters, target creature and opponent control gets -3/-3 until end of turn. And creatures your opponent's control can be the targets of spells and abilities as though they didn't have hexproof. And also ward abilities don't trigger from your opponent's creatures. Pretty cool.
That's,
Pretty strong.
yeah, mostly constructed line on the bottom.
Yeah. It'll come up
Uh,
though sometimes. Like you're gonna be like, oh, nice. Don't have to pay that too.
right. And also the fact is like this is a removal spell, but it also leaves around an enchantment that you can either you're talking about bouncing something with
Mm-hmm.
the blue thing. I'm assuming it was this thing.
Yep.
You can also sacrifice it on your red black deck. So there's some extra appeal to this as well as triggering all of your eerie stuff. I think this card's pretty good.
Seems good. Yeah. B minus?
Yeah, I think B minus is fair for the synergies.
Awesome. Next up is Osseous Stick Twister. This is 2 mana, 1 in a black for a 2/2 artifact creature. It's got lifelink. It also has Delirium. And its Delirium ability is each opponent, at the beginning of your end step, if you got Delirium, each opponent may sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. And if they don't do either of those, the Stick Twister deals its damage to target opponent. And of course, that means you gain life as well. So you gain. Oh, sorry. You let me read this out fully. It deals damage equal to its power to each opponent who didn't sacrifice a permanent or discard this way. So you give it the classic 3 bad options: either discard a card, lose some life, or sacrifice something. But it keys off its power, so you can be like, I'm a 5/5, and I lose you 5, when also you gain some life with the lifelink.
This card is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like it. It's only 2 mana, 2/2 lifelinks, just good.
Yeah, I'm like, it's also got types. Like, it's if you're playing in a Delirium deck, it's an enabler as well as a payoff. It's good on turn 2. It's good on turn 5. I think this thing's just like a B.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with this card. In fact, I see many right things with it. So yeah, I'll join you at B. All right, next up is another one of those kind of whenever it's dealt damage, destroy it cards. Sporogenic Infection. 1 in a black for an aura. Enchant creature. When it enters, target player sacrifices a creature other than enchanted creature. And when an enchanted creature is dealt damage, destroy it.
This card is so interesting.
Yeah, I
I love
tell us
the
about it.
design on this.
Sorry, you love what?
The design, like
Yeah,
it's this card made me think a lot. I guess the best scenario for it is they have 2 creatures and you put on one and the other one dies and you get exactly what you want. Like that's going to be amazing. It's going to be a fantastic card. That's of course not always going to be the case. If they only have 1 creature and you want to get rid of that, you can play it on your creature as an edict, but then your creature has a potential downside. If it has 1 toughness, it wouldn't matter anyways. And then there's the other spot, which is where your opponent is on a pretty wide board. You're not going to be able to get their best thing with the edict, but you can basically like make their best thing irrelevant in combat by putting this on it and get their worst creature. I still I think this card's good.
Yeah, I guess kind of a weird way to think about these cards. Just offhand is like it gives your opponent's creatures 1 toughness, kind of. It's kind of a interesting little twist. Yeah, this card is good, right? Like I think this is a card you're never cutting. Doesn't get into the B range though.
I think I will give it a B minus. I think I like this card.
Yeah, me too. I think we could go through every single card in this set. Like, if we wanted to make this set review 9 hours, We check off all the boxes of like, it triggers Eerie. It's good for Delirium. But like, you gotta have those things in the back of your head. And that I think gives it the boost. I'll join you for B- for the sporogenic infection.
Right.
Next up is Commune with Evil. 2 and a black for a sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 1 in your hand, the rest in your graveyard. And then you gain 3 life.
Yeah, kind of not a black card. This is like 3 mana instead of 2. We had Cash Grab and Malevolent Rumble recently. Just be 2 mana. Of course, it helps you with Delirium, but I think this card is just decent, but not great.
Yeah, I think it's a Delirium specific card, but it is very good at enabling Delirium. Like, you're very happy with this. I think that the 3 life makes up for it costing 1 more mana. So, unlike a lot of the cards that we didn't give a synergy grade to or build around, I think this is like a Delirium synergy C.
Yeah, I think I can just give it a C.
Yeah,
like,
that's why. It's like, because you can play it anywhere. Yeah, I agree. I set it up for me like, oh, this one's getting the synergy grade, but no, it's actually a very broadly applicable card, so it's exactly not a synergy card. But then again, it's like maybe the grade changes. So just know that it is mostly for Delirium, but you could play it if you needed to.
Yeah.
Killer's Mask up next. This is 3 mana, 2 and a black for an equipment. When it enters, you manifest Dread, and you equip the mask to it. The equipped creature gets Menace, and the equip cost is 2. So sort of like the Windbreaker.
That Menace is so much worse
Way
than
worse.
flying.
Yeah. It's actually this card is almost the exact same card, except it costs 2 to equip for a worse ability.
Yeah, like Menace is so much worse than flying.
Okay, so we gave a B- to that other card.
I think this one goes all the way down to C-.
Yeah, I was thinking so too. Funny how that works, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, when you unflip this thing, well, it's kind of interesting, right? Because, like, they have to block it and they don't know what they're blocking. I don't know if I'd give it all the way down to C-. Like, I think this might just be a C.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just give this one a C, but it is notably worse, I think, than the Windbreaker. Next up is Popular Egotist. This is 2 and a black for a 3/2. Has the ability 1 and a black, sacrifice another creature or enchantment. The Egotist gains indestructible until end of turn. You tap it. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target opponent loses a life and you gain a life.
This is another kind of must kill, because if you untap with this, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, pretty just hard to deal with in multiple ways. Like, both because it attacks pretty well and you just can't really let this sit there even if you have a 4 toughness creature. But then it's really hard to deal with after that.
And it can just win the game.
Yeah, and also, yeah, geez. I'm wondering if this is, like, it's in the B range, but I wonder if this is, like, a high B.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think so either, but... I think...
Like, it does still just die on turn 3 to, like, the 2 mana,
Yeah, deal 2, gain 2. Yeah. Okay, you want to give this a B- then?
Yeah.
B- for Popular Egotist. Withering Torment. The card that has had Magic Twitter up in arms for weeks now. This is 2 and a black for an instant. Destroy target creature or enchantment. You lose 2 life. So black gets targeted enchantment destruction now, apparently.
Not for the first time, though, so who, Anyway.
Isn't it targeted? Oh, you're right. There's Feed the Swarm. Yeah.
Yeah, they've had enchantment removal baked into black for a little while now, but I think this card is roughly equivalent to Murder. Easier to cast, 2 life, hits enchantments. I think that washes out to still be about a C+.
Yeah, I think so too. And my little just adding to that conversation is, this isn't a color pie break. They change the color pile all the time. This is just within black's color pie now, right? Like that's what it is. Anyways, next card. Dashing Bloodsucker. 3 and a black for a 2/5. It's got an Eerie ability, and its Eerie ability is it gets +2/+0 and gains lifelink until end of turn. 4 or 5
So
lifelink.
another one. Right. So if you curve this into the white room, the common I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that's what? 2, 4, 6, 8, a 9/6 life linker attacking,
that is large.
and a 2/2 creature to back to block.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
But that's best case scenario for this.
Yeah, this does have the say it again, Alex, the no protection, no ETB.
Yeah. So like a C, maybe just a C.
Yeah, like as always, when you have a card that's expensive, no mana, so no protection, no ETB, you gotta ask like, what is the upside if you untap with it? And I think this is pretty good upside. Like this is definitely something I'm like, all right, if I get to untap, it's a pretty huge swing in the game. So yeah, I'll join you at C.
Okay.
Let's play a game. This is 3 and a black for a sorcery. Has Delirium. Choose one, but if you have 4 more card types in the graveyard, you get to choose one or more. And the 3 options here are creatures your opponent's control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Each opponent discards 2 cards, or each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life.
Yeah, so not interested in this if you're not serious about Delirium, just
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the other ones. If you are on with this though, it's quite good. But you need to get it on early enough that the discard 2 is still relevant. So like there's a little bit of tension here. You need to be pretty good at Delirium.
Right. Yeah, I think that probably balances out to be not actually great because, like, I think if you're playing a slower Delirium deck, which the black Delirium decks are, like, you want your cards to be good top decks, and I don't think this is necessarily a great top deck. And
Yeah, I think I am going to give this one a synergy grade because
mm-hmm.
I think you really need to be good at Delirium, and I'm going to give it like a synergy C.
Yeah, it seems about right to me too. Because like if you're just choosing the discard mode, like it's an overcosted discard spell. Yeah, I don't think this one's anything I would give more than a C. I think Synergy C is perfect for it. Next up is a black uncommon room. Defiled Crypt is the first side. 3 and a black. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black horror enchantment creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. And Cadaver Lab is the other side. Single black mana. When you unlock this door, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's like a sort of overcosted. Well, it isn't an overcosted Gravedigger, but has potential to pump out more 2/2s if you're good at returning stuff from your graveyard.
Is this the first one where the more expensive one is on the left?
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what is their template here? Like, why? Yeah.
This is also kind of why I guess I've been reading them like because you do want to cast the one on the left first
Mm-hmm.
to trigger the one on the right. But it's interesting that they've switched it like that. Yeah. Anyways, this card's fine, just like the other Black Room. I don't think this thing's anything special. It's playable.
Yeah, it does. You'll get a 2/2 when you reanimate something. When you bring back that 4/1 from your graveyard that has
Hmm.
Delirium, bring it back. So I think that this probably triggers. Well, I mean, look at your deck. I guess is really what the golden rule is. Like, look at your deck to figure out how much you care about that side. But I don't know. It's a hard one to grade because I think it is pretty deck dependent. Because if you have literally no other ways but this to trigger it, I don't think it's very good.
That's probably true. Like, it's not that much better than a Raised Dead.
Yeah, it's an enchantment raised dead, like triggers Eerie, which I guess does make it
And
probably playable in most decks.
you can also sacrifice it after you've done the Raised Dead. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Mm-hmm.
is this like a D plus then?
Yeah, I was gonna go C minus, but maybe it's just narrow enough that I think C minus because I think enough decks are gonna care about the raised dead plus an enchantment.
Yeah, I guess it's a pretty good set for Raised Dead. Like you're stocking your graveyard
Mm-hmm.
pretty quickly. All right, sure, I'll join the
I'm
C.
even gonna go to C. I'm actually just gonna get like really running the gamut here, but I'm just gonna give it a C. I think it's just like the Cadaver Lab side of the card makes it totally fine. If you've got that upside, then great.
Okay, I'll stick with C minus.
Great. Live or Die is up next. This is 3 black for an instant. You choose one. Either return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, or destroy target creature. Notably, instant speed reanimation, which means if you reanimate a huge thing, you can ambush something.
Yeah, that's where the real upside on this card is.
Yeah, really cool card, actually. Cool split of abilities.
Yeah, this is really going to get some people. Another card that makes the Lifelinkers very good, or the Land Cyclers very good.
Yep. Cool.
Like, do you think it's better than C plus?
No, I was gonna give it because like the thing is, unless you do have the you do set it up so you have something by turn 5. A lot of the time, the opponent will have interaction spells they've been holding. I mean, it could be the same before turn 5 too, but it won't cost them that much. Like, so, like I guess what I'm getting at is that you're not often going to ambush something if you're not casting this like on turn 5 or maybe at latest turn 6. Your opponent usually has some play around that.
I mean, chat's mentioning Back for More, which was a good, like, that was the instant speed. You don't get the fight, obviously, but you would often eat creatures with Back for More.
Yeah, that is true. I think the fight on that's a big deal, though. Like, I don't know if I would make that comparison. It's a good card. I'm going to give it a C plus.
I think I'm talking myself up to B minus for this.
Okay,
though.
Yeah, I can see it. And next up, we've got maybe some good reanimation targets coming our way. Miasma Demon is the first one. 4 black for a 4/5 flyer. When it enters, you may discard any number of cards. When you do, up to that many target creatures each get -2, -2 until end of turn. Notably, you can't like pile them onto one. It's just -2 here, -2 there. It can't go -4.
Yeah, it is 5/4. You said 4/5.
Oh, sorry, 5/4. My bad.
Yeah, no, I feel bad correcting you because I feel like I'm getting pedantic, but I know we've got people just listening
important.
to this.
I much rather you correct me than not.
Okay. Yeah. So, is this that good? Like, if you're killing something, you'll often want to discard a card, but you're not going to have a bunch of lands in hand when you cast this, unless you're like reanimating it.
Yeah, I think I see this as a reanimator card. Like, I don't think the 6-mana mode of this is very good because, like you say, you're just not gonna have things you want to discard very often.
Yeah.
So I see it as like a fine reanimation target with a castable buyout.
Yeah, I still think I'm not that excited about this. Like, I think I'd rather just have the land cyclers because they just.
Yeah, you might just be right. Yeah, I'm not excited about this card either.
I'm gonna go C minus.
Yeah, I'll join you. And that honestly might be a little bit optimistic. Like, this card might end up being really bad, but we'll see. Next up is Vile.
You know what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go even lower. I'll go to D plus.
Okay, yeah. Next up is Vile Mutilator. This is 5 black for a 6/5. It says an additional cost to cast it, sack a creature or an enchantment. It's got flying and trample. And when it enters, each opponent sacrifices a non-token enchantment and then sacrifices a non-token creature.
No, this is a little bit better.
This one's better for sure. Yeah. Is this?
I still don't want to load my deck up with these though. Like, I'd rather have the black uncommon for sure.
Yeah. Do you see this as a reanimation card, or is it just like probably fine in most black decks? I think probably the second one.
For good in reanimation, like that.
Oh, for sure.
Where I think. But you're saying, do you play it outside of that?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I like barely know.
Also, one thing to consider that I don't think we've touched on really. Well, we have, but I think it's good to explicitly say it. When I've been saying good in a reanimator, I've kind of been thinking black-white, but I think most of the reanimation stuff just lives in black. So I think you're going to have reanimation packages in like your black-blue decks. So just as far as spread of how often you play these cards, that's just something to keep in mind.
There's a lot of black uncommon reanimation, but at common it's white, right?
Yeah, it's the white ones. Yeah.
And the gold card is white. So yeah, Yeah, you're
I
right. You could build like green black reanimator for sure, but it'll be usually white, I think.
I think this card is pretty good though. Like, make them sack a thing. Most
Is this get a
likely to.
synergy grade because we think it probably just goes in reanimation then? Or is that clear enough? I think I'm gonna give this a synergy grade.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure about it. I'm going back and forth between it is just fine in your black decks and you need the synergy. I'll go with the
I'll give it
non-synergy grade and I'll just give
a
it
okay.
a C plus. But
Okay. And I'm gonna give it synergy B, which is basically the same grade.
yeah, cool.
Okay.
All right, that's black. Thoughts on black?
Black is fine, but kind like it's a little on the weak side for me. I think black could be barely the worst color.
Okay. Yeah, it's got some solid commons, but there wasn't any that really blew our socks off, right? We weren't like, wow, that's the equivalent of we were really happy with the blue draw 2, make a 1/1. I don't think black really has that level of card.
Yeah, and like what are the blue black cards?
Yeah, for blue black control Eerie, probably nothing like removal spells. Like that's
Right. Like
yeah, everybody wants
even
those.
the removal spells we saw are all like in
Mm-hmm.
this C plus range. Like there's no like great removal spells, right?
Yeah. And
So yeah.
also both black rooms, I think are out of the monocolored rooms are probably the worst we've seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even probably. I think they are the worst
Yeah.
too so far.
Okay. So basically, and I think I like the way you put it, like just barely the worst, as in not bad, but probably the worst. All right, now we're going back to the red cards here, back to the cheap stuff, back to the commons. Clockwork Percussionist, the old symbol monkey's up next. Single red mana for a 1/1 haste artifact creature. When it dies, exile the top card of your library. You can play that card until the end of your next turn.
End of your next turn is big.
Yeah, cool card.
Wasn't there like a card like this that was 2 cards, but only until end of your current turn?
Unlucky Witness is what you're thinking, I think.
Yeah, and even that card was good. This card's like it's got types, it's got haste, which isn't really that relevant, but it does have it.
Yeah, it gets into points. Like it's gonna at least get into point if you have it in your opening hand, unless your opponent also has one. I
It
like it.
gets both you and your opponent closer to being at 13 life or less for the lands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really pushed in a lot of small ways. I think this card's pretty strong. It's I don't think it's a card that you're gonna just be like, yes, I want all of these copies of this as I can. Although, if you're red black, I can see you pushing into that territory.
Yeah, and like red green too. It's just really good, isn't it?
Yeah, for Delirium. Yeah, this card's really strong. Wow.
And it's got like less than 2 power for red white. Like the only card the deck that doesn't really want this is red blue, but that deck isn't even a deck, so who cares?
Yeah, this I was gonna give this a C plus, but I think it's where I'm gonna land. But I wouldn't be surprised if I like it a bit more as we play.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on C plus.
Nice. Next up, turn inside out. Single red mana for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn, and when it dies, you manifest dread. So we've seen these kind of like upgrade your creature's red combat trick kind of effects. I think this is a pretty good one because it has manifest dread. Of course, it's good.
Yeah, isn't this a really good one?
Yeah, this is a really good one.
Like 3 is a lot more than 2. And the other thing, I mean, we saw whatever its name was in MCAM in Karlov Manor, but that was a set where the creature sizing was small intentionally, which meant that you could just like not block things for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like MCAM, there's so many busted tricks, you kind of just didn't block for a few turns and then eventually you started interacting.
Right.
This set is not like that. Like Manifest Dread's way better than a 2/2. This gives +3/+0 instead of +2. I think the context of the set is better. And I can't remember if you could do this for the other one, but you can also target your opponent's creatures on this too.
Yeah, sure. If you just want to manifest dread, like if the combat's gonna go that way anyways, and you want to one mana 2/2. Yeah.
Like this puts multiple cards in your graveyard for Delirium too. Like because of manifesting, it's just 1 mana, like 2 to 3 card types in the yard.
Yeah, not a lot to dislike about the card. I think this is just a good combat trick. slash
like
utility
really
spell.
good though. There's also like the double striker in the
Yeah.
set. There's
Yeah, pair this with the attack in a box. You're attacking for 9, double strike. Look, that's the combo kill, right? Attack in a box, cast this, cast the double strike combo trick. That's 20.
yeah, also like the red white signpost, like that thing demands blocks.
Yeah, and they're gonna double block that thing because it's a 1/3. Okay, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sold. Are we C plusing here?
I am at least C plusing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was hoping
I
you'd say that.
am I brave enough to B minus though? Like
I
it's
think,
already late.
yeah, I'm gonna say C plus, but
Yeah, it's late in the set review. I'm not gonna convince myself to go any higher than that. C plus it is.
sounds good. Grab the Prize is up next. 1 in a red for a sorcery. As additional cost to cast it, you discard a card. You draw 2 cards, so we've seen this before. And if the discarded card wasn't a land, Grab the Prize deals 2 damage to each opponent. So, yeah, a way to enable some delirium, a little bit of chip damage if you want it in late game.
Do you like this?
Not that much. No, I don't think. Yeah, I listed some upsides of the card, but I don't think that pushes it to be any better than these kind of cards usually are.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fake upside.
Right. Extra
Like,
text, but not actually that much better.
yeah, you usually want to discard a land with these, especially because land's one of the harder types to get
Mm-hmm.
into the yard. Like if you're
Yeah.
playing this just for delirium, it's also not something like red green beatdown delirium. You don't want to take time off for this. So like, and red black's not a delirium based color. I think this card's kind of bad.
Yeah. You want to just give it a D then? D plus?
I D plus. Yeah,
Okay,
let's
yeah,
go D
let's go
plus.
D plus for Grab the Prize. Hand That Feeds is up next. 1 in a red for a 2/2. It's got a Delirium ability, and if you've got Delirium, it gets +2/+0 and Menace until end of turn when it attacks. So 2/2 attacks as a 4/2 Menace if you've got Delirium.
Yeah, kind of weird because it's only a 2/2 in the first few turns of the game.
Yeah, this is, really, again, just to hammer home how good being an artifact creature, enchantment creature is. I think we'd be pretty happy with this card if it was an enchantment creature, but
Yeah.
as just like a 2/2, it's kind of whatever. I think it's like a C minus.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there.
Yeah. Yeah. Not so great. Ragged Playmates. This is a card that I've noted a few times. 1 in a red for a 2/2 artifact creature. 1, tap it. Target creature power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn.
Yeah, you mentioned a bunch of combos with this, but the mana cost on this is still like we've seen these cards be free before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Like
they've been fine.
Goblin Tunnel or whatever.
Right.
And they've been fine. 1 mana is a lot more than 0 mana.
Yeah, but I also think that I very much agree with that statement, but I also think that when you're going to start activating this, it doesn't matter that much. Right? I think you're just going to have, by the time you have mana lying around. And if not, you've got other stuff to do. It's going to matter. I'm not saying it's 0, but.
Okay, I'm gonna give this thing I'm between C and C minus. Where are you on this?
I was going to give it a C. That artifact creature matters and has some upside. Yeah, just a C.
All right, fine, I'll tell you.
We got him. Scorcher Dragonfire. This is a reprint. 1 in a red for an instant. It deals 3 to a creature or planeswalker. If that thing dies, you exile it instead.
That exile word is gonna be golden in a
real
lot
big.
of spots.
Yeah, it's real
Deals
big.
with all those like signpost uncommons too.
Mm-hmm.
This card is B minus.
Yeah, I was gonna just give it a straight B, but might be B minus. Might just be. I kind of have 2 mana deal 3 as like premium common, but it kind of hasn't been for the last little while, so maybe it is closer to a B minus. I'll stick with my B though.
Okay.
Yeah. Rampaging Soul Rager. This is 2 in a red for a 1/4. When it gets +3/+0 as long as there are 2 or more unlocked doors among rooms you control. So either 1 room card with both doors unlocked, or just 2 rooms. Weird card though. It's like a defensive card that then turns aggressive or into a threat after the game's gone on a bit.
Yeah, I'd kind of like the body on it because early on when you're casting rooms, you want like defense.
Mm-hmm.
and then you want it to be something relevant after that, and it kind of does that.
Yeah. Not
Still
too.
not like very high on it.
No. I think this is a room specific card. Kind of has to be. And even in that deck, I think it's pretty filler. Like, I'd give this a D plus still.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on D plus.
Okay. Next up, we've got Vicious Clown. This is 2 and a red for a 2/3. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters under your control, the clown gets +2/+0 until end turn. That's not capped. That's not a once per turn thing.
Right. So this is one of the unblockable things you want to do, or you're
Mm-hmm.
just gonna unblockable it and then make it huge.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like even curving this turn 3 into 4, there's a bunch of things on 4 that'll trigger this once or even twice.
It does ask you to tap out or tap down pre-combat. So, if your only other thing that triggers this is a 4-drop or another 3 and you don't have a 4th land, then your opponent knows what they're getting into in combat. So it's a small downside of the card.
Yeah, and it doesn't block well.
Yeah. I think this looks okay. I think it's just like in your red aggressive decks, fine role player, probably like a C or C minus, but closer to C minus, I would say.
I think I'm still gonna go D plus on this.
Okay. Yeah.
You're gonna go C or C
Yeah,
minus?
just C minus, I think is fine. Most valuable Slayer. This is 3 and a red for a 2/4. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end turn. So this thing just throws around Kindled Furies when you attack.
Combine it with the black room that gives death touch, and you're cooking.
Such a stew, yeah. So I initially didn't like this card very much, and then I thought of what Danelius is saying in the chat here, Combat Professor, which is a great card. Now, I don't think this card is as good as Combat Professor, but it does have immediate impact, and its body is not terrible, although 2-power aggressive creature I don't love.
Well, it's kind of they need to print those, right? Because of the red white.
Yeah, totally.
Theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think probably like a fine filler card for those decks, like a C minus.
I'll go up to C for this. I can see the vision.
Yeah, okay. I'll join you at C. I think that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, like first strike that's a real ability.
Yeah,
Combat
no,
Professor
certainly.
just gave +1, right? It had vigilance, but it didn't give vigilance.
No,
or is it
I just gave +1, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Okay, so Jason LTG in chat, who's apparently played with the set already, says after playing it, this card is actually just Combat Professor. It's actually so good, like best red common IMO. That is very interesting. So keep that in mind. I'm not gonna change my grade just yet, but good to hear. Next up is Ripchain Razorkin. This is 3 and a red for a 5/3 reach. Sack a land and pay 2 and a red to draw a card. That's another just like, this is just a card. We saw that black Death Touch 3/3 that comes in with the counter sometimes. This is the same thing.
This is a Grabby Giant, but it's got an extra power.
Yeah. Enables Delirium, I suppose.
It's like 5/3 is for 4 is it's a
big.
decent body. It's
Yeah.
another good one to manifest because it's pretty big for what you flip
Yeah,
up.
just true. Just nail him for 5. Okay. Still not gonna go that high on this, like a C minus. Maybe just a C. I don't know. It's got enough little upsides I can see getting to the C range, but it's also pretty whatever.
Yeah, I'll go up to C for this, but I do agree that the previous card is probably better, and I gave it also a C. So maybe, maybe Jason's right that we should be moving up the previous one, but that's okay.
Next up is Boiler Bilges. But I'm gonna go with Boiler Bilges. Boiler Bilges Ripper. This is 5 mana, 4 red for a 4/4. When it enters, you can sacrifice another creature or enchantment, and when you do, it deals 2 damage to any target.
The knobs on this went wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is just not good enough.
You have to have a lot of things that you actively care about sacrificing to play the card, I think. Right?
Like 2 damage even. Like, and it's a 4/4 for 5.
It's gonna kill something when it comes in, most likely, right? Like, obviously you have to sack something, but it's not like it's a nothing ability.
I do not like this. I'm gonna give this thing a D.
Yeah, no, me too. I don't think this is a great card, but I just can see playing it as your 5 when you are the red-black deck looking for sacrifices. That's all.
I don't want to play bad cards to make my like decent cards good.
On board. Yeah, I mean, no argument.
Yeah.
Next up is Impossible Inferno. 4 red for an instant. It deals 6 damage to target creature. But if you have Delirium, you exile the top card of your library and you can play it until the end of your next turn. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, and the next turn again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like so you can cast this on your turn and get it, or you can cast it on their turn and get it.
Draw a card is nice upside on your removal spell. That
And
is, yeah.
it's expensive enough that you like are more likely to have it by then too.
So usually we give these 6 mana, or sorry, 5 mana deals 6s or 5s, like a D, like a D minus. Does this get into C range?
Definitely. I don't like I think it's I was gonna give it like a C plus.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm on board. I was leaning towards yeah, but yeah, no, I think, and here's the thing, like I think even in your non-turbo delirium decks, which I know red isn't that really. I think by turn 5 you're gonna have delirium some amount of the time, like not that difficultly between artifact creatures and manifest dread and whatever. So yeah,
And this kills like basically everything. I mean, we saw the 5/7 blue land cycler, but I can't even remember something else that this doesn't kill.
yeah. So C plus for Impossible Inferno. Are we going that high in the 5 mana red clunky red removal spell? I know it's better than that, but it's just kind of funny because this slot never gets that grade.
Well, because also like the draw a card on an expensive card, it's closer to draw a card than a cheap card would be.
Yeah,
Because even if you hit like a 5 or 6 drop off the top, you can still cast it the next turn.
cool. Yeah, okay, we'll just give it a C plus then. Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good. Bedhead Beastie is a great card because it has a bed as a head. It's this 4 mana, sorry, 6 mana, 5/6, 4 red. It's got menace, and this is the mountain cycler of the cycle.
Yeah, this is the worst one.
Yeah, I think so too.
This one's probably like a D plus.
Yeah, sounds all right to me. If we graded the
I
other
do
ones
like
like between C and C minus.
Yeah, I think I'll play this more than once in the format, but D pluses aren't unplayable, so
Yeah. Next up is a room, one of Red's common rooms. Glassworks is one side. This is 2 in red. When you unlock it, it deals 4 damage to target creature and opponent controls. And Shattered Yard is a 4 in a red side. It says at the beginning of your end step, this room deals 1 damage to each opponent.
yeah, so this is kind of different than some of the rooms we've seen where there's a very clear good side and bad side to this.
Yep.
It's basically, 2 in a red, 4 damage sorcery, and then you can either at that point start pinging for 5 mana, or you can bounce this, or you can sacrifice it, or do whatever you want with it at that point.
Yeah, I think you're seeing this as a deal 4, like sorcery speed 3 mana deal 4. But I do think that Red's like the 5 mana side is pretty relevant. Like you're not casting. Yeah. Okay. I just might want to make sure we're on the same page there.
But it's like it's the last thing you're gonna do.
Right. But just imagine like a bunch of these, like even in a controlling deck, like you have a bunch of kill your opponent's stuff, and then eventually just start casting this. Right. You don't need to get into combat to win. Kind of.
This is another example of that blue phantom monster you didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like just
Yeah.
killing the blocker.
Yeah. 5 mana unlock. Sure. So let's compare this to the one from the last set, the Agate Assault. Deal 4 source speed. Also could exile an artifact, which like never came up really, or destroy an artifact. And that card was slightly below average, maybe just average, I would say. Where do you think that the enchantment side of this, or the enchantment part of this, plus the additional side, bumps this to C plus?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I do
like
too.
you can rebuy it, you can start draining them. Yeah, this is much better than Agate Assault.
Sweet. All right, C plus for Glassworks, Shattered Yard. The other one here, other red common room, Ticket Booth, is 2 in a red. When you unlock this door, manifest red, and Tunnel of Hate, 4 red. Whenever you attack, a target attacking creature gains double strike until end of turn.
I like this one too.
Me too. Yeah. Kind of similar vibes, or it's just like ever like really like yes, cast the 6-mana double strike sorcery speed trick, but it's very relevant on a mostly playable 3-mana card.
Yeah. This is another. Well, maybe this is this a C or a C plus? What do
I
you think?
think this one. So yeah, when we had the conversation about that one blue creature that manifests dread, when like counter target spell and manifest dread, they manifest dread. I asked, is manifesting dread for the opponent generally worse or better than their average 3-mana creature? And you said generally a little bit better. So if that's the case, then does that just mean that this is generally a little bit better than, or not generally better than the average 3-drop, but like a fine 3-drop to cast? You just be okay with that?
Like, not it's like 2.5 mana, right? Like, pretty
Right. Yeah.
much.
Yeah. It's not exactly 3.
Because the extra bit of value, I think like the graveyard value isn't going to be as realized in red.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because like letting your opponent manifest dread is potentially them turning on delirium. It's potentially them hitting a reanimation spell. So it's actually worse to let an opponent manifest dread than it is for you as a red deck to manifest dread because you're probably not doing any of those things.
Right. Yeah. Good distinction. So I think I'm still gonna give it a C plus. Like again, that back in my head, like this is a room, this is an enchantment, this is gonna matter for things, you know?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll join you then.
All right, so moving to the uncommons now. We're starting with Norin, Swift Survivalist. Single red mana for a 2/1 legendary creature. Norin cannot block. Not a great line of text. And also says whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile it. You may play that card from exile this turn. Very interesting card.
I talked down the white 1 mana 2/1, but I kind of like this card.
Yeah, me too. You definitely have to be like, yes, I am an aggressive deck to want to play it. Because the 1 mana can't block is not good otherwise.
Yeah, and it's only relevant if you're forcing them to block.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if you're
But
those things, yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be spots when okay, your opponent has one good blocker, you can just like alpha and everything and like pay to not have them eat your creature. That's not bad. There's gonna be spots where okay, the board's totally gummed up, nobody has any attacks. Then you top deck this, and all of a sudden you're like unsettling twins that like manifest dread when it ETBs.
Oh yeah.
Can just keep getting in every turn. Like this thing's gonna be annoying.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. No disagreement. Yeah. Danelia says Arabella with this thing, just being able to recast that, and yeah, that's pretty nasty. Yeah, I like this card too. I'm gonna give Norn a C plus.
C plus, that's what I was gonna say as well. Yep.
Nice. Trial of Agony is up next. Single red mana for a sorcery. Choose two target creatures controlled by the same player. That creature chooses one of those creatures, and Trial of Agony deals 5 damage to that creature. The other can't block this turn. So we've seen these kind of like, okay, I target 2 things, you get to choose, or I kill your second best thing. Not very good, but does the can't block this turn make up for it?
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Like,
just barely, though.
You want to be very aggressive.
Uh-huh.
But this is, remove 2 blockers of your choice and without providing card disadvantage, kind of, right? Like that's like
yeah, it's all for 1 mana. That's really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely if you. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If I'm just gonna say, if you're aggressive enough, I think you're playing like the copy of this pretty happily.
Yeah. Yeah, if you haven't played with this kind of effect before, it generally is a little bit worse than it reads. But yeah, as we're saying, I do think the not being able to block clause it makes it good enough. So that, again, just like the last card, just like Norin, you got to make sure, like, yes, I am attacking. But if that's the case, this is like probably even like a B- almost. Like,
yeah, I wasn't gonna go. I think I'm just gonna go to C plus for this.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
For aggressive decks.
Okay.
You gonna go up to B minus?
No, I think I would settle on C plus too. Like, I'm just thinking the most aggressive of aggressive decks is going to get to that, but I also don't think, like, I also think this card is playable other than outside of that kind of deck, and it's not going to be that there. So, yeah, I'll join C plus.
Like, it's not a card you cast on turn 1 or 2 because, like, you need them to have 2 creatures for it to do anything. So.
But it's really, really good for your turn 4 or whatever, pairing it with 3-drop. Next up is a card we've referenced a lot, Violent Urge. This is a single red mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. But if you got Delirium, you get double strike instead.
They did it.
Yep. They made Kindle of Fury a card we want to play. Yeah, double strike tricks are something. They are something, because like they can be your whole game plan. I mean, not necessarily when you're deck building and drafting, but like you draw this, you have another pump spell, and you're like, huh, okay, how do I get one thing in? Because I go get it with my 4-power, my 3-power creature, cast pump spell, cast this, you're dead. So, yeah. Also, just like totally functional. Not exciting, but functional without Delirium.
Yeah, which is why they keep printing Kindle Fury. Like Wizards is clearly convinced that the card's playable without it.
Right.
So.
I like me a double strike trick. I do think that is something that I am in the market for. And I think that Delirium is not going to be that hard in most decks in this set.
So we're going up to B- for this thing?
Yeah. I was like, just like, oh, can I give it that high? I think I'm going to, yeah. I'll give it a B-. Seems good.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
Next up is Betrayer's Bargain. 1 and a red for an instant. As an additional cost, you either sack a creature or enchantment or pay 2 mana. So 4 mana or 2 mana. It deals 5 damage to target creature, and if that creature would die this turn, you exile it instead.
I like this thing.
Yeah, me too. Lots of flexibility. 3
Exiling
things,
is super good.
Exile is great. Yeah, this card seems strong. B-?
Is it just a B?
Just a B?
Yeah.
I think still just a B-, right? Like
there's that if you're playing the red-black signpost, there's like potentially upside to B.
I keep coming back to that card. That card just so many cards we've looked at, I'm like, yeah, it's really good, the red-black signpost.
Well, actually, either red-black signpost.
Yeah, it's got a fun either one. I'm gonna stick with my B-, but it's a good card. Definitely a good card. Another really good card here, Irreverent Gremlin. This is 1 and a red for a 2/2 menace. Whenever another creature power 2 or less enters, you can discard a card, and if you do, you draw a card. Only triggers once per turn, though.
But yeah, it's a 2/2 menace for 2 already.
Yeah. With some selection.
I like this card.
Yeah, this card's really good. I'd give this a B.
A B? Ooh.
I think this card's really strong, yeah.
A B. I'll go B-.
Okay.
You might be right, though. It's very good.
Next up is Piggy Bank. Another really good red 2-drop. 1 red for a 3/2 artifact creature. When it dies, you make a treasure token. Holy. So, like, 2 mana 3/2, that demands to be blocked or killed. And you don't want to block or kill this thing.
For 2 reasons. It's got types and it's got the treasure.
Yeah, exactly. Hoo-wee. Okay, this one. It's kind of funny. Do you like this one more or less than the last one?
I like this one more. I was going to give this one a B.
Yeah, I was also going to give it a B. I think they're about equal just for different reasons. But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool card. Next up is Pyroclasm, old favorite. 1 red for a sorcery. It deals 2 damage to each creature. Very powerful.
Yeah, and like interestingly, so between manifest, like some people will spend their turn 3 manifesting dread, right? We've seen a bunch of cards that do that. There's also the blue 2/2 make a 1/1, so that's another way you get like 3 mana worth of card out of this. There's also Unsettling Twins. So there's like, even if this is just a 1-for-1, there's a potential for this to trade up on mana in a lot of spots. And that's without even considering the fact that this could be like a 2 or 3-for-1.
Yeah, this is like exactly what blue-red wants. Like this, I think, more than anything else, is a blue-red card.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't look worlds different than the kind of 2 damage sweepers or -2 sweepers for 3 mana we see often, but just think of how many times you are going to be able to, how many more times you're going to be able to double spell with a 2 mana plus 3, where you couldn't do that with those cards. Like it actually makes quite a big difference. And I'm not a huge fan of those kind of cards, but Pyroclasm gets I'm happy about this one. Gets me excited.
So you want to give this one like I'm not going to go super high on it. I'm going to give it like a C.
I was gonna give it a C plus with the caveat that you're gonna play it when you should, which isn't exactly the same in an aggressive deck versus a controlling deck. Although more often than not, it's gonna be a controlling deck because there are some aggressive decks that you're just like, hey, I actually just don't have that many 2 toughness creatures, and maybe that's not true for this set because a lot of things are like 2/2s with manifest dread and all. But look at your deck and just ask how many things it kills, and if it's not that many, yeah,
But it is annoying that this doesn't kill a number of the signpost uncommons.
that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, we could give it a sideboard grade. I don't think I want to though, because I think you're just gonna main deck it enough of the time.
Yeah, yeah, no, you'll main deck this in blue red.
Yep.
Like I think almost every blue red deck will main deck this.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Untimely Malfunction. When red for an instant, you choose one, either destroy target artifact, or change the targeted target's spell or ability with a single target, or 1 or 2 creatures can't block this turn.
Is it the first one of the day?
The first sideboard card of the day?
First F of the day.
Oh, first F of the day. Oh.
I want to give this an F. I don't like this card.
Really?
Yeah.
I think this card is not enough. I think, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too high enough, but I think it's got enough flexibility. Like that's so much coverage. Like,
is it like artifact is the least like enchantment is way more relevant than artifact.
I
right?
agree.
Like you agree with that. The changing of target spell never works. Leaving up 2 mana to do something your opponent's. We talked about this in cards like this before. If you're leaving up 2 mana and your opponent's just like blindly playing into it, like that's doesn't happen as often as you like.
But 2 mana in red, right? Like that's, I don't know.
It's and then blocking, I don't know. I don't see this coming together. Like you could give this a sideboard grade if you see a bunch of artifacts, but I think I'm not going to want to play this card.
I think if you're released, it deserves a sideboard grade because I think against like a green-red deck, you're just going to bring this in sometimes. Yeah, I don't want to give it an F. I think I'm going to give it the sideboard grade because I agree it's probably not good enough to main deck. But I'm just surprised that you're so quick to give it an F. When I think like that middle mode especially, like you're right, it doesn't work very often, but when it works, it's so good. And normally I wouldn't just be like, oh, when it works, it's so good. But it does have other buyout modes, so.
I have just never. So if I have that second ability, I want it to be on a card that I have a buyout for if I can't cast it, leaving that mana open.
I agree with that, certainly. Yeah.
And buyout not meaning destroy target artifact because there's no guaranteeing. Like right. Kind of like pop patch formation, right?
Yep.
Like make a food draw card. That is the exact buyout you want on your like niche upside type of card.
Yeah, I guess you can always do this buyout is 2 things can't block, which is not very good.
But if you're leaving it up, that's on your opponent's turn almost all the time. Like,
oh, sure, but you're gonna like, if you.
I mean, I want a buyout to spend the mana if my opponent doesn't give me a.
I see what you're saying. I'm just thinking game states where this card is like doing anything at all. Anyways, we spent a lot of time with this card. I don't think we need to spend too much longer. I'll give it a sideboard card. Do you want to stick with your F?
I'll stick with my F
okay.
just to make a statement.
Yeah, let's do it. Fear of Being Hunted is up next. 1 red for a 4/2. It's an enchantment creature. It's got haste and it must be blocked to Fable. So plays all the tricks.
yeah. I like this thing.
Yeah, me too. It also means that your other creatures get in. If your opponent doesn't have a lot of blockers. Also is a enchantment is going to go to the graveyard for Delirium.
Yeah, really good in red-green.
Also, sometimes you just get in the hit for 4 for the first time, right? Like they don't, they attacked you, or if they just didn't, they're stumbling a little bit. 4 hasty damage really punishes stumbles.
There's also there's both Arabella and the Manifest blue 1/3 that if you just are on the play and they cast that and you cast this, the game's over.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, pretty good with the first striking. Yeah, and most valuable Slayer, the 4-drop. Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ! Oh my God, that's gross.
gets a slight knock because of one red. Like that's always going to be something that weighs the card down a little bit, being a cheap card with double pips, but not too. Can't talk down too much. I think this card is pretty good. I would give Fear of Being Hunted a C plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a C plus, and I'm gonna cowardly go back to Most Valuable Slayer and bump that up to at least a C plus, because that is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
curve. It's a real good curve. Next up is Vengeful Possession. This is our active trees into the set. 2 and a red for a sorcery. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste until end of turn. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So your active treason that sometimes says, hey, I want to cast this before the game's actually going to end. Or you're playing a red-black sacrifice deck and you cast this just as like a utility spell in the mid-game.
plus, like, if your opponent reanimates the white-black uncommon, like, there's going to potentially be some really good swings with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is pretty nasty. Especially if you can, like, steal and sack. Like, we do have the 1 mana. We actually have multiple 1 mana ways to sacrifice things in the set. So, steal it, Bone Splinters it away, or whatever that card's called.
What's other than the Bone Splinters?
I think there's a red creature we are gonna see in a second. Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The cost. Yeah. Okay, I know what you mean now.
Yeah.
That one they'll see it coming, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What do you want to give this active trees? And I think it's a pretty push version in a set that supports it pretty well.
I'm still gonna go just to C plus.
Okay. Yeah. No. I wasn't gonna go too much higher than that either. But C plus seems good for this.
Okay.
Next up is, what I was just mentioning, Diversion Specialist. This is 3 and a red for a 4/3 menace. You can pay 1 and sacrifice another creature or enchantment. Exile the top card of your library. You can play it this turn.
Yeah, so this one's this turn only. They need to find some way to word these a little bit more clearly. So you're paying 1 and losing something to cast maybe something. Mm-hmm. So the ability is not something you're going to want to activate very often until the super late game, or if you're like synergizing with the sack stuff. But that being said, a 4/3 menace for 4 is not too bad.
Yeah, hits hard. It's got the no ETB, no protection problem, but I think you're only. I don't know. I think you're only going to play this in like a red-black deck. Would you agree, or do you think you're going to play this? Yeah, okay.
No, I agree.
So it's just a red-black card, and I think it's like a C there.
Yeah, I wrote C as well.
Cool. Next up is Infernal Phantom. This is 3 and a red for a 2/3. It's got Eerie, and its Eerie ability is it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. When it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target.
Yeah, another one, another 4-drop with Eerie that you can like go nuts with the White Room. Like I said, there was a bunch of those.
Right. It's a weird card. Like, unless you're sacrificing it, I don't think, like, this is going to be like a 4/2 at best.
4/3.
Sorry, 4/3 at best most of the time. Like, it's kind of a more defensive card. Yeah, like, very strange card.
Yeah, because they could just, like, not block it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And
or chump block it if you do a bunch of work and they just chump block it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this card is not great.
I mean, by the same token, it's not a bad blocker. It's not a great blocker, but it's like, I don't know.
This might be our first true cop-out grade. I'm just being like, yeah, I can see some things we like about it, can see some things we don't. Slap the C on it. But I think I'm going to more likely slap like a C- on it.
Really? I was leaning more the other way. I was leaning more towards C+.
Yeah, could be right. I just think, like, out of all the 4s we've seen, I think this might just be, like, one of the ones. Like, this is definitely worse than Slayer. Most Valuable Slayer.
Yeah. And actually, and there's not as many enchantments in red as there, so yeah, okay, I'll go with C cop out.
Yeah, combo potential. I think there's some combo potential, but we'll just give it the old cop out C. All right, now we got a room at uncommon here. Painter Studio is one side, 2 and a red. When you unlock this door, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You can play them until the end of your next turn. So again, the opposite wording of the card we just saw. And Defaced Gallery, 1 in a red. Whenever you attack, attacking creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Nice.
This is another one where I think you're casting the right side first.
Yes, I would agree with that too. Yeah, because you're not in your red deck. You're often not going to stop to draw some cards just because.
Yeah, like even if you just play this on 2, obviously it's not what you want to be doing on 2, but it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, card seems good. Card is something I think you like. Pretty much every red deck's going to play.
C plus better than that.
Yeah, I was going between C+ and B-. I think I'm gonna go B-. Just I think there's a lot of this the Defaced Gallery is another go wide thing for the Gremlins that you mentioned. There isn't too much to go wide with, but that is one thing.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I like B- here. Gonna join me, or are you gonna be C+?
Yeah, I am. I am gonna join you.
Okay.
Yeah, you can me.
This next one's a banger. This is Razorkeen Horde Caller. This is 4 in a red for a 4/4 haste, and when you attack, you make a 1/1 Gremlin creature token. So this is very reminiscent of Aomer for those who played the Lord of the Rings set, and that card was fantastic.
Yeah, loses a power, but is not legendary and does not require itself to be attacking.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't have that line that Aomer had that never came up where it's like, if you have the biggest thing. But yeah, this card just seems great. B?
This is like a B?
Yep. I just give this a B.
Yeah, okay.
Very, very strong. Next up is Fear of Burning Alive. This is 4 red for a 4/4. When it enters, it deals 4... Sorry, it's also an enchantment creature. When it enters, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. And if you have Delirium, whenever a non-combat source of damage deals damage to an opponent, if you've got Delirium, Fear of Burning Alive deals that much damage to target creature that player controls. So with Delirium, it just domes them to the face, but yeah, Delirium. This is kill a thing, deal 4/4. That is really, really good.
Yeah, it's not good without Delirium though.
No, but it's definitely playable, right? You're not just like, oh man, I can't cast this unless I have Delirium. Like sometimes you're gonna be like, all right, 4 mana 4/4, dome me for 4. Like that's gonna be fine enough. I
guess it's a lot worse.
Well, I think it's a lot worse just because the other version is so good, right? It's not like it's just by comparison. It's not like this is terrible card or anything.
Oh, that's true. Chat mentions that these stack.
Oh my god, wait, is that true? Is that not a replacement thing?
No, it's a trigger. Right?
Wow, yeah, it's a trigger. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because the fear does it. It's on the inside. Okay, yeah, great. It's nice.
Still not going that high.
No.
It's like somewhere between C+ and B-. I think I'll go B- for this.
Yeah, me too. I was just gonna say it's nice that it's a 6 mana card, Delirium, because the more expensive a Delirium card is, the more you're like, all right, it's more likely I have Delirium. And that's gonna do it for red. So, what do we think about red compared to the rest of the colors?
Red seems pretty good, like especially at the end there. There's a bunch of cards in the low Bs for the uncommons, so the commons maybe not amazing, but I think the uncommons kind of make up for it.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and I think that's kind of the play booster era. What we've seen is that a lot of times, like the commons are sure there's better ones, not so good ones, but a lot of times like the juice is at the uncommon slot. The commons have more been like, okay, these are functional cards that make the decks tick, but yeah, I think uncommons have definitely reigned supreme in the past year or so.
Yeah, definitely agree there.
All right, home stretch here. Green. We've got Flesh Burrower as our first green common. 1 and a green for a 2/2 Death Touch. When it attacks, another target creature you control gains Death Touch until end of turn.
Yeah, this is a weird criticism of this card, but I'd like this card more if there was less better 2-drops in green.
Yeah, what are the things?
Green has just a ton of great 2-drops.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we'll see in a second, but there's so many good ways to spend your mana on turn 2 in green. And yeah, a little bit weird before we see the other cards, but I think that I agree with you. It makes me not like this card or give it high of a grade as I might normally. It's a fine card.
I do think it's a good. Yeah, I do think it's a good card. It's good offensively and defensively.
Yeah. I would give this a C. It's fine. It's good. But yeah, we'll see in a second. There's some
Yeah,
other good ways to spend 2 mana.
yeah, I'm between C and C plus, and maybe it should just be a C plus. Like it's still
Still pretty good. Yeah.
good, but like I feel like the other green cards are better C pluses. So we'll just go C plus and move on. But yeah,
Yep.
I like this card.
Horrid Vigor is up next. This is 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature gains Death Touch and Indestructible till end of turn. The ultimate combat trick for winning combats, but also doesn't push additional damage, which is a reasonable downside.
Yeah, I mean this like survival is gonna really incentivize people to block,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the uncommon and rare level. So I don't think this is embarrassing, but it's not good.
No, I agree. Like protection spells that are 2 mana versus 1 are often way, way worse too. If you're thinking this is just like a hold this up and target combat some removal. So I'm gonna give Horrid Vigor like a D. It's nothing special. I think it's a pretty low tier playable.
I'm gonna go D plus.
Yep,
I'm a little bit more
I'm
optimistic.
saying.
Yeah.
All right, Manifest Dread, 1 and a green for a sorcery. Can you take with anybody listening out there? Guess what this does? If you're not watching the YouTube video or the stream, guess what this card does? It manifests Dread. That's all it does. But that's great because that's a sorcery that puts itself in the yard and manifests Dread.
Yeah, I mean it puts two cards like this is we talked about like every green deck wants as many of these as it can get.
Yeah, for sure. Card is
Like
good.
it's between like this and like Dragonfire and the like draw two make a glimmer for best common in the set, probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you want to give this a B?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, Manifest Dread gets a B. Roll credits. Next up, we've got Monstrous Emergence. This is 1 and a green for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, choose a creature you control or reveal a creature card from your hand. Monstrous Emergence deals damage equal to the power of the creature you chose or the card you revealed to target creature. So we've got a bite spell that you can bite from your hand with. That's kind of cool.
It is, but the same thing I said, you can't just go nuts with Manifest Dreads,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like not have as many creatures. Like there will be opening hands where your two creatures are both Manifest Dreads and this doesn't actually do anything. It's also interesting that it's choose a creature, so it can't be blown out by removal, but also doesn't work with Death Touch type stuff or Lifelink. So the templating on this is very different than the bites we're used to.
Right, because it's the spell that deals damage, not the creature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest that line of text seems like a huge upgrade over your normal bite spells. But like you said, it's not strict upgrade. And I think that the spot where you're most gonna notice it is when you're on the draw. Right? You don't have to go like they play premium rare 2-drop or whatever. You don't have to go, crap, I have to play my 2-drop and then untap, hope they don't have protection. Like you can just go fire it off, right? That is I think where you're most gonna feel the advantage of this card. I actually don't think it's like a huge difference than cards that we like we normally see.
In paper play, if you have a bunch of these, do you ever choose to be on the draw?
uh
Like it's because you get the extra card for look at the creature as well.
yeah,
And
that's interesting. Just a bunch of it's still like probably not, but it does make being on the draw a little bit better in general. And I know that's something that players, yourself included, are because you're a player, have been asking for things that are a bit better when you're on the draw, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the design on this card. It's like I'll give it like a C plus.
Yeah, no, I like that too. Next
Okay.
up is Say Its Name. This is 1 and a green for a sorcery. Mill 3 cards. Then you may return a creature or a land card from your graveyard to your hand. It also says exile this card and 2 other cards named Say Its Name from your graveyard. Search your graveyard, hand, and or library for a card named Altanak, the Thrice Called. So Beetlejuice, basically. Put it on the battlefield. Just straight up, put that thing on the battlefield. And if you search your library this way, shuffle, activate only as a sorcery. So a lot of words, but let's just break this down. On face value, it's a 2-mana sorcery that mills 3, brings back a land or a creature from your graveyard. That is quite strong in this set.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be from the 3 you milled either.
Right, yeah, you just cast this late game, it's like, yeah, just buy something back, just regrow something. But a sorcery that puts 2 cards in the graveyard, including the sorcery. Like, that's big for Delirium.
Did we go show what Altenac is and just
Yeah,
do
for
that?
sure, for sure. Let me just
It is
bring
being
that up.
reviewed today because it's actually an uncommon.
Yeah, so sorry, look away if you are sensitive to quick moving things. But Altenac is a 7 mana 9/9, 5 green for a 9/9 legendary creature with trample. When it becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you draw a card, and it has a discard mode. You can discard from your hand, 1 and a green. Return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
So, would you play this without Say Its Name or without Reanimation?
How many Terramorphic expanses do I have? It's probably gonna
Yeah,
be a
because you want
big
that
deal.
ability to be an
Or
option, right?
just self-mill. Actually, you know what? Probably I think more often than not, right? Because you either, Terramorphic Expanse, but any amount of self-mill, any amount of Manifest Dread, like, you're gonna get a land in the graveyard, and just having this be like 2 mana Rampant Growth, basically. For a 6 mana 9/9 trample, when you target this, I draw a card. Like, that's good. Even the 7 mana mode of that, I think, is good enough.
Yeah.
So yes, I think we're not gonna. Do you want to grade this card now? I don't know if you want to do this out of order,
Yeah,
but
sure. Let's do this now, and then we'll go back.
yeah, let's do this now. So Altenac by itself, like, I would give probably a B-, honestly. Like, it has sort of Armadillo spot, whatever that card was from OTJ 7/7 Ward, not quite, but has those vibes. Yeah, I think maybe this is a B-.
Yeah, and that's like without even reaching its ceiling.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You on board?
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Okay,
Let's go back
cool.
to the
So yeah,
commons,
back to Say Its Name. I don't think that makes this card any better, that much better, honestly. But it is part of the card.
9/9 on turn 2.
Sorry, say again?
You can potentially have a 9/9 on turn 2.
Yes, there are sequences that allow you to do that. That is true.
Like, okay, I guess back to Say Its Name. Very good Delirium Enabler. So good in black-green. I think red-green, you want to be impacting the board.
Mm-hmm.
White-green, you don't want this. Blue-green, maybe. So evaluate it as if it's a black-green card and give it like a C+ for that deck.
Yeah, that seems good to me. Nice.
Okay.
Another good 2, Wary Watchdog. 1 and a green for a 3/1. When it enters or dies, you surveil 1.
Yeah, I really like this. Like, this was already good in March of the Machines, and it's even better here because your graveyard's much more relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit of an overperformer. I think that we didn't expect it to be as good as it was, and that card was great, and I expect this card to be even a little bit better. C+ again?
Like, this
Might be
probably,
B-.
but it could be a B-.
Yeah, no, I agree. Next up is Cryptid Inspector. This is 2 and a green for a 2/3 Vigilance. Whenever a face-down permanent you control enters, and whenever Cryptid Inspector or another permanent you control is turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on Cryptid Inspector. Starts a little small, but triggers off of a lot of things.
Yeah, because you can, like, every Manifest Dread is a potential 2 triggers on this.
Yeah. And it's a good thing to manifest Dread, like just being able to flip it up and be a 3/4.
Yeah, really good in blue-green, especially considering both the signpost uncommons are 2 drops, so it's not like you'll have an opening on 3 potentially.
Yeah, it's gonna range from like D level playable to probably around a C+, I would say, if you're really doing it.
Yeah, I think I'm happy giving it like a C.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Next up is Frenetic Strength. This is 2 and a green for an aura with flash, enchant creature. The enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has trample. So we see this card ever so often, but gets trampled this time around.
Yeah, Frantic Strike. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what I said, but yeah. Frenetic or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a word. I said a thing that wasn't a word. Anyways, go ahead.
I like this card's been like a D+ in other sets, and I think if you're playing like the Survivor deck, I think you kind of want one of these.
Right. Yeah, that's the idea, right? We briefly mentioned before that Survivor cards just play well with tricks because your opponents are going to be incentivized to block, and this is the thing that really punishes them for that.
Yeah, this is really nice on the 2/2 that gets flying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'd go up to like a C minus for this.
Yeah, I agree with
Green
that.
white.
And you can make the delirium argument, but I don't think enchantment is actually going to be a card type that's hard to get in the
Mm.
graveyard. It's not like it's going to fill a role that other cards won't. Next is Grasping Long Neck, 2 and a green for a 4/2 reach. It's an enchantment creature. When it dies, you gain 2 life.
I kind of like this in the delirium decks in both black green and red green.
Yeah, I think it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think it's like a C.
Yep, I would agree with that. Next up is Spine Seeker Centipede. This is 2 and a green for a 2/1. When it enters, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Delirium, it gets +1/+2 in Vigilance if you have Delirium, so it becomes a 3/3 Vigilance. Nice.
Another really good card. Like C plus.
Yeah, fixes you, gets any basic land. Yeah, C plus you said?
I said C plus. I like this card a lot.
Yeah, I'm going between C plus and B minus. Yeah, I'll join you at C plus. I agree with that. Next up is Anthropede. This is Anthropede, yeah. 3 and a green for a 3/4 reach. When it enters, you can pay 2 or discard a card, and if you do, destroy target room. Which is interesting because sounds like some nice incidental hate, but I think a lot of the time you're just not going to want, like, they've already gotten value a lot of the time, right? So unless you have the spare mana lying around, you're not going to just like discard a card on turn 4 very often.
Unless you're like reanimating or doing something.
Right,
But
yeah.
I agree that like destroying a room it's already going to have gotten ETB value in the vast majority of cases.
Yeah. So it's like a D.
Yeah, I think it's like a D.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is Cautious Survivor. This is 3 and a green for a 4/4. Its survival ability is you gain 2 life.
Another nice thing to manifest.
Yeah, true.
But
It's also
no
very
ETB, no protection.
yeah. Just it's like a
No real upside.
D plus.
Yeah, it could be a C minus,
Sure,
but yeah,
sure.
I think we'll go D plus. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is Bashful Beastie. 4 and a green for a 5/4. When it dies, you manifest Dread.
Unsurprisingly at this point, but I really like this card.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is exactly what you want to be manifesting. Like, you look at the top 2, you hit one of these, you're like, sweet. You
Yeah.
like slam it face down and then keep the train rolling from there.
Yeah, it's really big. And that's good on blocks and attacks. Mind you, the opponent's not going to attack into your 5/0 mana unblocked creature or untapped manifest all that often, but doesn't matter. You flip this up, you start bashing.
Yeah, if your opponent's not attacking, that's like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this reminds me of there was a card from a lot of Lord of the Rings comparisons actually today. The War Beast, I think it was the red, the 5 mana that amassed 2. That card was a little bit of an overperformer. So what do you want to give this? Is like a C plus for you?
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
which is surprising for a death trigger like no ETB creature.
Yeah, for sure. Next up is Slavering Branch Snapper. This is 6 green for a 7/6 trample with 4 cycling 2. We've officially power crept Colossal Dreadmaw.
4 green, not 6 green.
Sorry, 4 green. No, that wouldn't be a power crept. 6 mana total.
Yeah, this thing's huge.
It's
I already
giant,
talked
yeah.
a lot about land cyclers. I like this one just as much. I mean, we're kind of flying through these green cards, but it's because we've already said most of the things we have to say. I will give this another C plus.
Yeah, I am in agreement with that too. And then we have a room as our last card, last comment here. Is Moldering Jim on one side. That's GYM, not a guy named Jim. 3 mana, 2 and a green. Unlock this room. Search your library for a basic land. Put on the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. Wait Room is the other side. This is 5 and a green. When you unlock this door, manifest Dread. Then put 3 +1/+1 counters on that creature.
I really like this thing.
Yeah, I really like this thing too. It's kind of like the Tanuki from Neon Dynasty, where you have to choose either big creature or ramp spell. This is just both, and one side ramps you to the other.
I would say closer to like Beanstalk Giant.
Sure, yeah, that's a great comparison, absolutely.
Yeah. But also, like, you can just, cast it on turn 6 and still have the rampant growth in your back pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I I still think it's just a C plus. I don't think I'm going higher than that.
Yeah, same here. I'm just trying to think, is this I mean, probably answers the question because you said C plus, but you're just gonna play this in any green deck. I think there's not many green deck. I mean, a green red deck, maybe not.
Yeah, green red's the
Yeah,
one where I think you need to impact the board reliably, and like this also doesn't really help you achieve delirium that early because like turn 6 is kind of too late for that, even though you're manifesting dread.
right. Yeah, cool. Very good card though. All right, now we're moving to green uncommons, coordinated clobbering. Single green mana for a sorcery. Tap 1 or 2 target untapped creatures you control. They each deal damage equal to their power to target creature an opponent controls. Okay, so it's a bite that helps your survivors do their survival thing.
Yeah, that's the joke about the upside, but in reality, it's like this is a major downside.
Yeah, right? Because you can't go
Even though
like,
you can do
yeah, go good.
Well, even though you can do two creatures and potentially either avoid being blown out or like combine their power to get rid of something huge, tapping your creature like and it has to be untapped, so you can't attack first and then do it. You can't do this and then attack. You can't block on the next turn. Like that is a huge cost. So I do think this is a green white gold card. Like you only want to be playing this if you have like 6 or more survivor cards in your deck.
Right.
And I think this will be heavily overplayed.
Yeah, I think so too. So in green white, since we're saying it's just a card there, it's like a C plus.
I want to give this a synergy grade to make it clear that like this
Yeah.
you need to be doing the thing for this.
Yeah, especially because this one
And
doesn't spell it out, right? It's like kind of looks like
yeah.
a fine removal spell.
Yeah, and in that deck, I'm still gonna give it yeah, it is it a C plus in that deck? Yeah, because
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
You with me?
Insidious Fungus is up next. Single green mana for a 1/2. You can pay 2 and sack it to either destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or draw a card and put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped.
There's the buyout I was talking about. This
Yeah.
is really good.
Yeah, this is really nice. I think basically every green deck's gonna play this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give it a C plus.
I'm gonna go up to B minus for this. I
Okay,
think this
yeah,
is really nicely costed.
fair enough. Patchwork Beastie is up next. Single green mana for a 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can mill a card, but it can't attack or block unless you have Delirium.
Or unless you've manifested it.
Ah, yes, of course. That is the joke. But you only, even
That's
still.
really good. Your opponent's never going to expect like a 3/3 flipped for single green mana here.
Yeah, and actually, that's like a really important thing for blue green, just being able to flip up for a single mana, right? Like, just,
Mhm.
I mean, this applies to any cheap card, of course, but just noting. Yeah, this card's great. It enables your Delirium, just even if you're just playing it as its kind of face up mode. I don't mean like face down, face up, but just the intended like play it on 1, fuel my graveyard, unlock it on turn 5 or something like that, turn 4. Yeah, this card's really good.
Yeah, and it's good early, it's good late. I like this card a lot.
B?
I'm going to give this a B minus.
B minus, yeah. I'll go B, honestly, but
Okay.
yeah, I see maybe being slightly too high. Cathartic Parting up next. 1 and a green for a sorcery. The owner of target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls shuffles it into their library. You may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library.
So this one doesn't have quite as much of a buyout, and you don't really want to hit rooms with this. So I think this is probably well, we've talked about these Sam Black cards shuffling into your library. I'm sure they'll enjoy it very much. But I think for us humans, we're going to play this as a D plus, and then the immortal cookers can try and go nuts with this.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Next up is House Cartographer. 1 and a green for a 2/2. It's got survival, and if it is tapped on your second main phase, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land. Put that into your hand, and the rest on the bottom in a random order.
Yeah, so a card's worth on a 2-drop for survival. That's you're getting somewhere now.
Yeah, that is nice.
even like the threat of this is somewhat decent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're gonna be pretty happy with this card in every green deck. Like you don't have to be surviving, no survival synergy cards needed.
Yeah, like with the pump common, the +2/+2 trample aura, it's
Sure.
really nice curve.
Yeah,
I
it's
think I'm
it's
gonna give
still a 2 that isn't great, when you draw in the mid to late game, so can't go too high on it, but I would give this a C plus.
Yep, that's what I wrote as well.
Nice. Overgrown Zealot is up next. 1 and a green for an 0/4. Tap it to add mana of any color, or tap it to add 2 mana of any color, and spend this mana to only to turn up permanents.
Yeah, I
Nope.
think 04 is a nice body on this.
Mm-hmm.
And tapping for any color, like this isn't just a blue-green card. I think you play this in any, well, not red-green, but any slower green deck.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What do you want to give it?
I will give this another C plus.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go too. Break
Okay.
Down the Door is up next. 2 and a green for an instant. So many modal cards in this set. Choose one. And a lot of them have the same modes. Exile Target Artifact, Exile Target Enchantment, or Manifest Dread.
Yeah, nice. Like, yeah, but kind of what we were talking about. You want that buyout where you can just spend the mana. This will sometimes be excellent. I am gonna give this another C plus.
Yeah, just a string of C pluses here. Defiant Survivor up next. 2 and a green for a 3/2 with, you guessed it, Survival. And if it's tapped at the second main phase, you Manifest Dread. Yeah, that's nice.
This is the kind of card you want where you're drafting those payoffs, like those enablers, I guess. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is, I think, the one you want to be enabling. Like the whatever it's called, the Orphans of the Wheat or whatever, is
Yeah.
really nice into this because you can trigger it immediately on turn 3.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny. I expected them to maybe put like a vehicle in the set. I don't. There is one.
There's
Um.
2 rares.
Oh, too rare. Sorry, sorry. Not a common, uncommon. So
I'm glad that they did it like that.
yeah, me too. I think that like I was just imagining this card just sitting there every turn with a vehicle. Like that's really obnoxious. You can't break that up. Does this one break into B minus range? I think probably, but it's also just like a 3 mana 3/2.
Yeah, it's like it has no protection. It dies to the 2 mana interaction. I still think it's a C plus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm on board with you. Fear of Exposure up next. 2 and a green for a 5/4 trample. Enchantment creature. All good things. But as an additional cost to cast this spell, tap 2 untapped creatures and or lands you control. So pretty close analog is Warlord's Elite from Brothers War. That was a 3 mana 4/4 in white. So that card was good sometimes if you had 1-drops. And the idea here, of course, is tapping your survival creatures.
Say the line, Alex.
It also is good to Manifest Dread. Yeah.
Well, this is one of the really good ones.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Just whoop, 3 mana, 5/4, getcha.
In Brothers War, you needed 1-drops to make that card good. There aren't really 1-drops in this set.
No, there's not. Not as many. Definitely not as many as Brothers War.
So I do think you want to either be like manifesting dread a lot or really care about like the tap. I guess it's also got types and it taps. It kind of does a little bit of everything, but kind of badly in each way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I think this might be okay. I think I'm gonna give it a C.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a C too. But like
Okay.
a lot of things, kind of a little bit badly is exactly how I would phrase it too. Well, maybe not exactly, but the sentiments I would share. Next up is Under the Skin, 3 mana, 2 and a green, sorcery, Manifest Dread. So again, another thing that's just like spell that Manifest Dread, really good for Delirium. You may return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Holy.
Jesus.
Wow.
This is like potentially an A minus.
Yeah, this is like so pushed.
Did we give the blue bounce one an A minus, or
did.
did we check
Yeah.
it out and give it a B plus?
I think.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good. I think we gave it an A minus. Somebody check me on that, but either way,
we gave it a B plus.
okay, B plus. We chickened out.
No, yeah.
You want to give this one an A minus?
I think it's as good as the other one.
Yeah.
So I think I'll still give it a B plus.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah, this card's
really, like it's very close to the A range. You can just cast it on 3 and get, like, as long as you see a permanent, you get it back. It's crazy.
Threats Around Every Corner is up next. This is 3 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters, you manifest dread. Whenever a face down permanent you control enters, search your library for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. Wow.
Yeah, I really like this thing too.
Yeah, so you're just 2 mana, 2/2 ramp. Obviously better than that because manifest dread.
Solemn Simulacrum.
Very interesting though. Cause no. I was gonna say you have to do this awkward thing where like if you have one basic, you manifest it and you see it from the top 2, it's not good, but you can just order the triggers, right? Wait, no, that's wrong. Cause you manifest dread, and if you do see your off-color basic, you have to either manifest or put it in the grave, right? Then you can't go search it.
Yeah. Manifesting Dread, like the milling is part of the
Right.
resolution. So.
And obviously you have to do the first one before you do the second one. So there is that bit of a risk if you are splashing off this card. But
Yes.
yeah, really good. Green's got a lot of pretty good uncommons. I would give this card I think a B-.
I wrote B- for myself as
Yeah.
well. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, sure. It is very unlucky if that happens to you, but I'm just noting as something that might happen. Next up is Wicker Folk Thresher. This is 3 and a green for a 5/4 artifact creature. And it's got Delirium. If there are 4 or more card types in your graveyard, when this attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand.
That's a nice payoff on a good body on a creature with 2 types. I like everything about this card.
All that stuff. And this one, again, it suffers from no ETB, no protection, but it's also very, very big. And an artifact creature, too. So, yeah. Yeah, what do you like for this one?
I think I'm going to do this another B-.
Okay, I was going to go C+, but yeah, close enough. Next up is Rootwise Survivor. 3 green for a 3/4 haste. Its survival ability is put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target land you control. That land becomes a 0/0 elemental creature token, and it gains haste until the end of your next turn.
I'm not that interested in this.
No, I don't think so either. The land also doesn't have vigilance, which is sometimes what they give to these kind of lands. So you're taking that land out of your mana pool, basically.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go as low as D+ for this.
No, me too. Just understated. Like 3/4 haste ain't great. Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of this one. Next up is, Altanak. We already talked about that one. We already gave that one a grade. But it would just refresh people if they want the card here. What would we give it?
We both gave a B-.
Okay, sounds good. And then we've got a room, Greenhouse, 2 and a green for a enchantment that says lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, so kind of a chromatic lantern. And then Rickety Gazebo on the other side, 3 and a green. When you unlock this door, mill 4 cards, then return up to 2 permanent cards from among them to your hand.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure decks will have room for this.
Yes, room for this.
Did you miss the self high five?
I looked up at your cam for a second. I was like, what is he waiting for? Did I miss something? Give me a break. It's been 5 hours. All right. Anyways, great pun aside, what do we think of this room?
Yeah, I don't think this one's very good. Like the front side is almost irrelevant. The back side is too much mana to not impact the board, even though it's like a pretty decent ability. I don't think it's unplayable, but I think it's like a D+.
Yeah, I would say so too. It's going to be really good for a certain type of player. Who maybe
I want to draft this deck where you draft like soup stuff, and then you draw some cards by milling, and then you have cards that you can't cast, and later on you're like, yeah, I'm unlocking my splashes, but it's hard to have it come together.
Yeah, agree. So like a D+?
I said D+.
Okay, yeah, I'm on board with that.
Okay.
Is that it? Are we done here?
That is it.
Okay, wow. I thought there was more. that's gonna do it for our common and uncommon Duskmourn set review. Mark, any closing thoughts before we pack up for the day?
Yeah, so I guess just final thoughts on green.
Oh yes,
Green,
yes.
we talked about at the start. I think green and white are probably the two best colors. Green's got lots of fixing. I think there's some soupy stuff you can do, like green red aggro looks good. There's a lot of stuff to like. And then tomorrow we'll take a look at some of the rares, mythics, as well as the 10 special guest cards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just gonna repeat the same thing I said at the beginning of this set review, is that if you were a little bit underwhelmed by the complexity level of Bloomborough and that cards are fairly linear, I think this set is right up your alley because the cards are not linear here. Like, all the mechanics have a lot of bleed. It's not like there's multiple decks that most of these cards go in. The cards seem, interesting to play with. Like, they have a lot of different play patterns. So yeah, I'm definitely excited, especially, I mean, for the draft certainly, but especially the gameplay. I think there's a lot to look forward to in this set.